there. I'm going to now create my poly tilde. So a new object here, poly tilde. We just type in the word fun, and then the next thing we type in is going to be the number of voices that this poly tilde is going to use. So we can create it like so. How this thing knows where this fun thing is. If it loaded correctly, you could double click it and it will come up. That is, if you hold down your command key or control key so that you can open up while it's unlocked. Chances are this won't come up automatically. You probably have to save the patcher that you're working on with in the same place as the fun thing. We can see fun is in here somewhere. I'm sure you like the names of my other files. So we could call this synth, sure. Call it synth, and then once it's saved in the same place, then you type retype any part of the name of this thing, fun, just retype the 6 or something to re-instantiate that poly tilde. And if that didn't work, then you would close the synth patch and reopen it. Sometimes Max gets a little finicky when it comes to opening up patches for poly tilde. Especially on a, oh no, actually I shouldn't say especially on a PC, that's not true. Alright, one thing we need, there's all sorts of ways to send stuff into the poly tilde. For example, if we make a message, you can tell it which voice to send information to using the target message. So target $1 would be one way. You can, well, if you wanted to send it, yeah, okay, fine. That's kind of the most foolproof way, is that you give it a voice number, which, 1 through 16 in this case, and it will send that information off into that particular voice. There's also a thing called a message called MIDI note that you can put into it. And since I have a list here, instead of using the message box, I'll use a new object called prepend. So whatever word I type here is going to be put into a list with whatever comes into the prepend object. And this thing, MIDI note, the message MIDI note, is a way to have this poly tilde automatically allocate voices. Again, because we put this poly tilde on there when it tells it it's busy or whatever. So poly tilde has its own built-in voice allocation action going on. I'm going to put my prepend MIDI note over here. Here comes my key and my key up, like my note on and note off, because I don't own a keyboard. You can all chip in and buy me one if you like. And here's my note in. Again, if you have a MIDI keyboard, this will work. And one more thing I suppose would be a good idea is a DAC. So we'll get a favorite old easy DAC over here to play our poly tilde through. Okay, and this is monophonic, I mean not monophonic, but it's only got one channel, so it's not stereo, it's mono. And we turn this thing on, and hopefully when we press keys we get some kind of note out action. So I'm typing away. Here's my name. Alright, so if you can decipher that, you know who I really am. What else could we do here? Oh, you can play your keyboard. This is really great. It sounds, well, I guess with the computer keyboard, if I lock it so I don't get those shortcuts. I think you only get like 4 notes, so we're not really utilizing all of the 16 voices that we have available to us in the poly tilde. So what I'm going to do is have also over here build myself a little, I might turn this off. I'm going to build myself a little kind of randomizer action. So I'm going to make a new object, metro. I'm going to run through this, 200 I suppose. Metro with 200. I'm going to randomize the durations or the ticks on this metronome. So I'm going to random 200. I'm going to have sort of a minimum duration, not duration, but time between ticks of 100 milliseconds. So we'll have to make a metronome, bang out 100, something between 0 and 100, add 100 over here, send that back in for the metronome timing interval, so we can put a toggle on here with a T key, So turn that metronome on. And we're going to be having ticks out of here. I'm going to trigger 3 different random things. So I'm going to make another new object with random. This 127 would be great for, actually, would that be great for note numbers? Sure, yeah. We'll put that in for our note numbers. We probably could add 1 if we wanted to be really pedantic, because 0 times 50 will give us 0 hertz, which is not going to be that great, but whatever. We'll also have another random over here with argument of 50, so we'll get random velocities. So I'm going to put this into a list for a velocity of, again, we do want +1 here because the 0 velocity, that is completely pointless. Oh, I might as well put this +1 over here as well, since, like I said, that would, oh, I didn't mean that. Alright, so then what else? I want to randomize something else. I want to randomize durations. Because what I'm going to put this all into, maybe I'll make that first new object called MakeNote. And MakeNote provides, it's kind of like a voice handling thing. And it has 2 arguments that you can put into it, which is the velocity is the first argument for MakeNote, and this would be the second argument would be the duration. So the way it would work is that if I just had numbers coming in here, it would send out notes with whatever that number, the pitch there, or the note number to be more precise. It's not really pitch. And then we put this velocity would be the note on velocity, which would come out here, and then the note off velocity would come out after some amount of duration. Note off velocity, of course, being a 0 if you've read the whole MIDI spec. There's that. So yeah, there's our velocity we're going to make there. There's our pitch, if you like. Note number is what I would prefer to call it. And then we also can just duplicate this whole action here by selecting and Alt dragging or Option dragging if I'm on my Macintosh, which I am. And then we put a couple more. I'm going to randomize these durations between 5 seconds, 5,000 milliseconds, and 1,000 milliseconds. So between 1 and 6 seconds, in case that math was getting confusing. Alright, I'm going to pack that note number which comes out of here, which is a note number and velocity. I'm going to pack that into a list, new object, pack. Here comes my note number, here comes my, oops, hello. So I'm packing the note number and the velocity into a list, and I'm going to send that into my prepenned MIDI note, just to get something a little bit more interesting that I can play on the keyboard, like this. Alright, so that might be particularly useful if you want to make like a sci-fi movie soundtrack or something, you know. But anyway, that was the tutorial. I know it was kind of short, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time with the 14th of these.